irrespective of the quality of your training programs and your mentoring strategies, if your personnel feel that the leadership isn't walking the walk or walking the talk, does that impact on the level of integrity?
I think it's critical. I've heard at a recent presentation that the majority of people take their lead from people that they look up to, their parents, their bosses at work, the leadership in an organization. And the least percentage of people take it from their own inner values. But I think we did a recent ethical study in our organization, and the people are all coming back to their point of reference is what does leadership do? Not what leadership says, not the codes in place, not what is written, not what is communicated, not what you train on. That's important. That tells you what the organization is. But if that is not reconcilable with what leadership does, then it's all for nothing.
So setting the tone at the top is absolutely critical. How does that impact in terms of KPIs?
We measure our group executive on ethics. What we do is we have various surveys, and we use the feedback from those surveys. I don't know if you refer to the ethics indicator that's been done by the Ethics Institute, because we use that as well. It's a brilliant indicator to measure the capacity of a company to behave ethically. And then built into their balanced scorecards is a 0.3 modifier. Now I give the independent and objective view on if the area has achieved its results or not. And based on that, our CE can decide he can up rate or down rate them. And effectively it means that a cluster who can possibly bring in the most money into the company, they can effectively miss their performance bonuses because they behave unethically. And that has really made a difference. People are looking to see how they can do things right.
Within the corporate world, who should be the gatekeepers in terms of ethics? Which functionaries are there to ensure that the climate of ethics is at an optimum within an organization? Would that be the CEO? Is that the chief ethics officer?
Well, I've heard one company said we don't need a chief ethics officer because that would clash with the acronym for the CEO. He is the CEO, he is the chief ethics officer. And that's the view that our CEO takes. And Driekie and I had a discussion on this earlier. And our CEO said, there's one person, the buck stops with me. I am accountable. I determine, because we had a discussion on principle based, and people interpret principles different. So the answer is, whose interpretation do you go along with? The CEO says, it's mine. It's my call. If the board doesn't agree with me, they must get rid of me. That's their duty. That's
King 3 says ethics is the responsibility of the board.
Yeah.
So we know that. If we now look at the new Companies Act 2008, that's already been amended. We also know from that the legal liability for directors individually has also now been increased, making them also liable for failures of any type of offence of which dishonesty is an element. That would include crimes such as fraud and corruption, of course.